So this is SQL. So for understanding SQL part, first let us start with the database. What is database? So what is database means? A database is the place where we are going to store the data. It is the place where we are going to store the data, right? It is some kind of in the hard disk only we are going to create some location. In our hard disk only, whatever the hard disk is there, inside the hard disk only some location will be saved and some location will be separated, and there we are going to store this one. So a database is a collection of the data stored in a format, some format, whatever the format, right? If it is getting stored in the tabular format, it is called as structured data. If it is not getting stored in the tabular format, then it is called as unstructured data. But whatever the unstructured database or structured database, it is going to collect the information and it is going to store all the information in one location, right? Now, next one is store these values. Whatever the values are there, all the values will be stored in a tabular data. The values will be stored in a tabular data. Now, in a tabular data, whatever the values are getting stored, each row is called as each record. In SQL, it is each row is called as each record. In Python and Pandas also, it is called as record only. And each of them, single separates, these are called as values. And this one, whatever the column names are there, in statistics, it is called as variable. In machine learning, it is called as features. In SQL, it is called as field. Okay, whatever the table column names are there, they are called as fields, column names. Okay, and this is the entire table. Now, using these tables and the entire data of the structured data, we are going to store in the tabular format, right? Now, you will get a question. Sir, the same thing we can store in the Excel sheet also, right? Then what is the difference in the Excel sheet versus this one? In the Excel sheet also, we are having rows and columns, and for every column, you are having the name. Then what is the difference? So that part also we are going to see. That is one of the interview question. What is the same thing you can store in the tabular format means, then why you can't go with a simple Excel sheet? For that, why to create the SQL database? I mean, with respect to structured database, right? Now, in the structured database, whatever we are having the structured database, DBMS. What is meant by DBMS means database management system. What is meant by database management system? Full form is database management system. What is the meaning of that means? As per your requirement, it is going to select the data and you are going to get the output from that. The process, whatever the internal process is there, that management, database management system, the process involved inside the database, right? So here, just we are going to write some information and based on that, we are going to get the data as the output, right? It is going to do the modifications within the database. For example, if you are adding any new value, it is going to change. If you are replacing or if you are filling the values, everything, right? Now, within this database management system, we are having two types of database management system. One is called as relational database management system, RDBMS. One is called as non-relational database. One is called as relational database. One is called as non-relational database. Now, the question is, what is relational database? What is non-relational? What is the difference between both of them? Now, relational database management system. Relational database means having the relation between the tables. If the tables are having the relation between 1 to 1, then it is called as relational database. If the tables are independent to each other, then it is called as non-relational database. Inside that, we are going to have the multiple tables. If the tables are connected to each other, they are having the relation between both of them. If tables are connected and they are having the relation between them, means it is called as relational database. No connection means it is called as non-relational. There is no relation between the tables. Okay. So relational database means relation. It is having the relation. What relation? Between the tables. Let us see one example for that. So here the tables are connected to each other. Whatever the tables are there, we are connecting to each other. So by how we are going to connect them means by using the schema. By using a schema. By applying the schema between them, we are going to connect. The schema is nothing but the skeleton structure of the database. Whatever you are having the skeleton structure, that part. Sir, let us explain with a simple way. Okay, the database schema, whatever the database schema is there, that I am going to explain in a simple way. Let us take this data set. Everyone please focus now. Now you'll understand the relational database schema. That is one of the most important interview question. What is meant by schema and what is meant by ER diagram? There are two questions are there. Okay. First, what is meant by schema? For understanding the schema, for example, let us have a data set is like this, a data. Where in this data, if you observe, this is the sales data, customer sales data, where I am having the purchase number 1, 2, 3 up to 10. Purchase number 1 to purchase number 10. And this is the date of purchases. And here customer ID, whatever the customer has purchased, the customer, for every customer, one ID is there. Some customers will be repeated. The same customer will come to the same store one more time, right? Now this is the customer ID 1, 2, 3 and 1, 4. If you observe here, the same customer 1, first time he has taken with respect to the sale on the 2016, again he has visited once again the same thing, right? Same person, John McKenzie, right? So here the customer 1, whatever the customer 1 is there, the customer 1 was repeated once again. This time he has purchased with a different item, maybe same item or different item, but same customer is same. Now if you observe here, this data set consists of total 10 records. And here how many columns are there? Means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Total 12 columns are there. 12 into 10 means 120 values are there. In one single table, 120 values are there. Out of 120 values, if you observe this one, customer 1, this value was repeated. So 3 times same thing is there. This is okay, but these both are additional space. Name, John. Same McKinley. And same mail ID. Same thing. The same person was getting repeated. Now, if you see here, total 120 values are there. For storing 120 values, automatically it requires some kind of space, right? Any value, one value if you want to store also, for that some space is required. For one value if you want to add also, some space will required. So here for adding 120 values, whatever the space is required, it is going to select. Now, this is the single table where I am having 12 columns with 10 rows of 120 values. Instead of storing in this way, entire data in a single table, what we are going to do is we are going to split this entire data into multiple tables and we are going to have the relation between them. Now what happens if I do like that? What is the advantage? By dividing the data into multiple tables means, now here I got 120 values. Now by dividing, I will get only 110 values. If 110 values, for 10 values only answer. 10 values also, for 10 values some space will be left out, right? You are going to use the space. Since this is the small data set, only 10 values you are going to save. If it is a 1 lakh records of data set means, 10 lakh records of the data set means, 20 lakhs records of the data set means. So as more the data is there, to save that one, they have created this relational database to save the space. If you're not interested to save the space means, then there is no difference between your relational database versus non-relational. Okay. So how we are going to save the space? By using the relational database means. So here I am going to create a separate table called as customers table. Where in this, what are the customers are there? If you observe this table, the previous table. Okay. If you observe the previous table, in this table, how many unique customers are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Same customers are repeated, but only actually 4 customers are there. Basically, you are having only 4 customers. So now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to separate this one with respect to a customers table where customer ID 1, 2, 3, 4 and first name, last name and email address, everything. Right? Now, one more table I'm going to create, which is called as sales table. And one more table called as items table. Now, here, these two are connected to each other. So here, whatever the customer ID 1 is there, now customer ID 1 is automatically John with respect to the same mail ID and this is the same. If you observe this one in the original data set, just open your original data set. In the original data set, here, this part from here to here, whatever the part is there, this part is getting repeated. Date is changing. Date is changing, but this customer 1 with respect to John McKinley and whatever the John McKinley with respect to this one is there, as it is getting repeated. One more this one also. From here to here, it is getting repeated. Whichever is getting repeated, this common thing is there, right? This I'm going to use and I'm going to create a new table for that. Separate table for that. So now I have created a separate table for this. Now here customer ID 1 means automatically it is John McKenzie only. So John McKinley with respect to this one, same to same. Again customer 1, here also the same thing, right? Similarly here he has purchased the item code called as A1. What is meant by item code A1 means that details will be in the another table. Now what happened? You are having with respect to 1, 2, you are having with respect to here 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 records and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, 4 into 5, this is 20 values. This is 10 into 4, 10 into 4, 40 values. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 into 6, this is 36. Now if you accumulate everything, 20 plus 40 plus 36, which is equal to 96 values. But same information is there. Whatever information earlier you have got using 120 values, the same information you have got by using these 3 tables, where it is still more simplified. Now you can easily identify what are the unique customers are there, how many total number of customers are there, what are the total number of items are there. This process will be very easy. This process of converting the big data into small data parts is called as relational algebra. Okay. Now how we are going to connect means, instead of this table, this is the main table. This is your main table. For this main table, this part you are going to get in the another way. This one you are going to get in the another table. This is your main table. Main table is this one. This is your main table. So for this main table, you are going to connect them. The connection between them. So here the main table was connected by common thing is item code. By using the item code as the common. Here and here, the both of them item code column is the common one is there. And for this table and this table, how we are going to connect means by using the common column name called as customer ID. By using this customer ID as the common column name, by using this item code as the common column name, you are connecting this one. These both are not connected. These both are not connected. This one is connected to this one also connected to this one only. So if you take this database, whatever the sales database, sales table, whatever the sales table are there, this sales table you are connected with respect to customers table, and sales table is also connected with your items table. Okay. In this way you connected the 3 tables. Connecting and having the relation between the multiple tables is called as relational database, and this type of connection is called as relational schema. This is only schema means. Schema means which table has to be connected. Are you going to draw any line like this? Are you going to connect these two? No, because they are not connected. No, don't draw the line. Whichever has connected, draw the line. The representation of the boxes with respect to their line is nothing but ER diagram. ER diagram means entity relationship diagram. Most important interview question. 100% blindly you will get this interview question in the SQL. Entity relationship diagram. Entity relationship diagram, which is also called as ER diagram. ER diagram means, what is the meaning of ER diagram? Means representation of schema. Your representation of your schema. Representation of the schema as a diagram is called as ER diagram. Just you are representing the schema. What is meant by schema? Schema is nothing but connections. Which tables are connected to each other. For this particular data set, I am having the main table called as sales. Sales is connected with the customers, and the same sales table is connected with respect to the items. This is called as relational schema, and this is called as with respect to ER diagram. The connections called as schema, representation using the diagram is called as ER diagram. Right? So ER diagram is just, it is a representation. It will not be available inside the database. In one of the interview, I asked for one of the person, what is meant by ER diagram is, it is one of the diagram which will be available inside the databases. So diagram is not there inside the database. That diagram representation. For example, if I am representing the human heart is there, body, in the body, hands, person, head, something we are having. This is head. Circle is head. No, right? Circle is not called as head. Circle is just representation. This is body. Miss 2 lines body. These 2 lines means hand. No, right? Just they are representation. Diagram wise, you are representing the human body you are representing. Are you going to create the entire human body you can draw there? No, right? So the same thing, representation. Whatever the representation of the schema is there inside the database, that representation is called as ER diagram. ER diagram is representation of the schema, simply to say. Okay, it is a diagram. How you are going to draw the schema on a paper. Diagram will be only on the paper, not inside the database. Right? Now, here, relational algebra means having the relation between the tables. Creating this type of relations. So, you should be familiar which one has to be connected. How we are going to connect means that I'll show you. In the further, I'll show you. Okay, how to connect them and how to access the data. Everything we are going to discuss one by one. Right? Sir, those 4 numbers of the customers, but multiple tables. We are going to create in the multiple tables. The entire data will be subdivided into the multiple tables. Okay, in order to save the space. Why we have created like this means in order to save the space. The reason behind of relational database is to save the space. Okay, now just this is the relational schema and representation. Next, the converting the big one into the small units, the conversion of the small units, the entire system, which makes with a logical integration is called as RDBMS. Connecting the multiple tables and extracting the data from the using all the tables, which is RDBMS. R stands for relation. DBMS stands for extracting the data. What are the data you are extracting? What are the things you are doing? Now, in the database, let us assume the database is also hard disk. You are having external hard disk, right? So in the external hard disk, for example, you are having the external hard disk, some external hard disk. Now that external hard disk, you are going to connect into your USB port. You are going to connect that hard disk. Now, once you connected the hard disk in your particular system, whatever the information is there, you want to send this information into this hard disk. What you are going to do? Copy, paste. Here you are going to copy in your system, paste in the external hard disk. You are going to do this one. But this is going to work. The external hard disk was designed in that way. But whereas in the database, we can't do the copy paste works. There the copy paste work will not be done. We have to add the value also, or we want to delete the value also. It is not using the mouse and right click and delete or shift delete. This is not the way. Okay. Now, what is the importance of database? So the same thing you can do in the Excel sheet. Excel sheet also same work, same tables, same thing. Excel sheet also will do the same. Then what is the difference? For example, in the Excel sheet, let us take an Excel sheet versus SQL. In the Excel sheet, I am going to keep the heading of age. This is Excel. This is database. Right? I am keeping the heading as age and here also age. Both the heading is common. Inside this first record, whatever the record is there, first student age is 22. Here also no difference. Second age is 21. Here also no difference. Third age is Siva. Excel sheet will accept. If you write the same Siva here, it will throw the error. Age cannot be Siva, age cannot be text. Age should be a number. It will throw the error. That is the difference between Excel versus database. One of the difference. Like this, we are having multiple differences. In this, one of the differences is this one. So, whatever the column name you have kept and whatever the here data type you are mentioning, you can write as per inside anything as per your choice. You can write Siva, you can write some 1 plus 2j, complex number also. Still Excel sheet will save. But the same thing if you share here, it will throw the error. Right? This is the difference number 1. Now, difference number 2. In the Excel sheet, the maximum value, whatever the maximum value of number of rows you can get is only 10 lakhs, 1 million rows. After 1 million, you can't get the Excel rows. It is limited with respect to number of rows with 1 million rows. For example, I am having more than 10 lakh records. Data points are there. Where I have to store that one? In Excel sheet is not possible. You have to create a new Excel sheet. You have to create a separate new Excel sheet. It can't create in the same Excel sheet. But in the database, in a single in the single table, you can store more than 10 million. Storage wise, very high when compared to your Excel. Advantage number 2. After the class, you guys please discuss, offline students. This is advantage number 2. Advantage number 3. Here in the Excel sheet, you are having multiple Excel sheets. Multiple tables. Inside the Excel, you are having multiple tables. And you want to have the connections between the tables. Here, the connections are very difficult. In order to extract the, make the connections logically limited. Whereas this one is very easy. Connections between the tables is very easy in the database. Dead easy. But the same thing you want to do in the Excel sheet means, right? It is very difficult. When compared to this one, it is difficult. When compared to this one, it is difficult. It is possible, but having so much of limitations. And the process also will be very slow. Very slow process will be there. Right? Next, this is the advantage in the database which we are having. Next advantage, what we are having in the database is, in the Excel sheet, for example, I have shared you some kind of Google sheet. I have sent you Google sheet. I asked you to enter the information. Now, student 1, he is going to enter the information, and in that one of the columns says that number of projects, how many projects you have done. Student 1 has entered 1. Google sheet, whatever the sheet I have shared in the classroom, automatically it is open to everyone. Everyone can write, everyone can edit, right? Student number 2 has written 2 projects. Student number 3, he has written with respect to, he has done 1 project. At the same time, he has edited the students number 1 to 10 projects. He has edited. After editing is done, okay, now I'm going to open this Excel sheet. Now I'll ask student 1, hey, have you done 10 projects? I'll ask like this. That student 1 will say that, no sir, I have not done 10 projects. I have done only 1 project. Then you have entered 10. No sir, I have entered 1 only sir. Here 10 is displaying now. No sir, I have entered 1 only sir. Then I will ask in the class, who has edited that one? None of them will say. How to identify that person then? Who is the culprit? Who has changed that one? How to identify? It is difficult to hear. Whereas very easy here to identify the culprits. Because administrator is going to give the permission. Who has changed the data? Everything we can know. Who created the data? Who edited the data? Who modified the data? And finally saved the data also, everything we can know. So we can use security. Simply to say, it is called as security. Okay. So if one Excel sheet was transferred to the multiple in the team, generally 5 members or 6 members will be there. If one Excel sheet was transferred to the multiple members commonly, how they are going to transfer generally means as a Google sheet they'll transfer in the companies, because if there are any important information is there, they can also update, so that others also can know. But if wrong updation was done, they'll not accept. Whoever has done the wrong updation, they'll not accept that I only have done that updation. I only have made the mistake. None of them will accept their mistakes in real life. So that is the reason for that security purpose. This is the one of the advantage of database. Like this, we are having multiple advantages. Still are there. I'll explain one by one. Okay. So like this, we are having multiple advantages when compared to your Excel sheet. That is the reason they have created the database. Okay. Only for storing the values in a tabular format means no need of database. Excel sheet is more than sufficient. Okay. Here storing, saving the information and utilizing that information wherever we require, and wherever we want to share, that easy of sharing also. These are the multiple advantages which we are having. So like RDBMS, whatever the RDBMS I have told you, multiple databases are there in the market. So MySQL is the database name. SQL word is not called as database name. SQL is not called as database name. SQL is called as language name. Database name is called as MySQL, SQLite, MySQL Server, Oracle. These are called as database. SQL Server is the name, that is not the server. name only. Name they have created like that. That is basically a database. Okay. So it is created by the Microsoft, and this is by Oracle. Earlier, this is by different company, but this is now acquired by the Oracle owner. Now, out of these many databases, which database is easy to learn? And what is the difference between these things? There are minute changes are there. Their differences are there. 100% there is a difference. Between them, there is a difference. But what is the difference means minute changes. What are the minute changes means? Here, it is not a case sensitive. If you write a small e and caps lock e also, there will be no difference. It is not the case sensitive. Whereas SQL Server is a case sensitive. SQL Server is a case sensitive. Okay, that is one of the difference. Almost 90% will be the same. All the databases, almost 90% are the same. If you learn one of them, others you can learn just in 1 hour. There will be a small differences, very small differences. I'll show you that differences also. What are the differences? And in SQL, the same syntax in SQL Server how to write, in the same syntax in the MySQL how to write. I will show you the difference, then you'll understand easily. Right? Now, this MySQL, SQLite and SQL Server and Oracle, now in the market, now as I've told you, this MySQL, now it is latest acquired by the Oracle only. Now this MySQL is also Oracle only. Oracle database also Oracle only. Both of them are by Oracle only. Now, what is the difference means? This is the starting with respect to the mid-range companies. Not with respect to enterprise level. Free. This is advantage is free. Startup companies, mid-range companies, all of them will use. In the market, how much out of 100 companies, how many companies will use MySQL? How many companies will use SQL Server? And how many companies will use Oracle means? Out of 100, almost 60 to 70. In between 60 to 70 will use the MySQL. 10 to 20% will use with respect to SQL Server. And 5, not even 5%, 3% people will use Oracle. Because this is a high paid version. Out of all of them, it is the highest one. In the phones, it is iPhone, something like that. Right? With respect to very less number of people, most number of people will go with Android. When compared to Android and iPhone, iPhone is very nice, super, extraordinary. But how many people use iPhone? When compared to Android, how many people are using iPhone? Right? Same thing. In the market also the same. Though it is very extraordinary and high level also, just 5%. Maximum is 5. If out of 105 companies are using this, that is high, very high. Many of the companies will go with the MySQL because of easy integration and free source. It is a free. Right? Now, for example, some of the companies are there who are using like Power BI, some business intelligence Power BI, and you are doing some kind of projects on the Power BI. 100% they'll work only on the SQL Server because both of them are related to Microsoft only. Easy integration. Okay, integration will be easy, deployment will be easy. Some out of all of them, easiest one is this one. If anyone wants to start from the starting level and they want to learn the are available in the market, out of which most easiest one is with respect to MySQL because of the syntax. The syntax is easiest one. Okay, when compared to others, it is the easiest one syntax. So here also we are going to discuss the MySQL. I'm going to explain the MySQL only. Right? Now, so how we are going to extract the data from the database? You are going to extract, or you are going to insert the values, or you are going to create the tables within the database. For example, there is one database, some location is there in your hard disk. How you are going to create one table? The table creation, everything we are going to use by writing a query. By writing a query. Query means it is a request for the data or information for the database. Okay. So you are just sending some kind of request. For example, you want to add a table. You are going to send a query. You are writing a query and it is getting added. So it is just adds the data. So here, this language is completely of the queries. It is going to work on the queries. So that is the reason it is called as SQL. Right? By using the language called as SQL language, we are going to write the queries. In the Python, we are going to write the programs. They are called as programs, and these are called as queries. They are not called as programs. They are called as queries. This will be done by using the SQL. Right? Now, what is this SQL? SQL means structured query language. The full form of SQL is structured query language, where it is going to work on the structured databases. This is only applicable only on the structured databases. For unstructured database, SQL is not applicable. There we have to use with respect to NoSQL. Right? So SQL. Now SQL is also called as SQL. Some people will call as SQL. Right? SQL means structured English query language. The full form of SQL. First, actually they have invented with respect to first SQL only, not SQL. The word first has got into the market in the 1970s as SQL only. SQL means structured English query language. The full form of SQL is. Okay. Now later, this SQL is having some kind of copyright issue, because already one of the company related to aeroplane related company, already they have registered this name. Okay. So this is having a copyright issue. So that is the reason they have converted this one as the SQL. Earlier it is called as SQL. From SQL to they have converted to SQL. SQL means structured query language. Right? Is that clear? So just you are going to write a query. Structured query language means what is the meaning of this one means? By writing the queries, you are going to work on the structured database. By writing the queries, you are going to work on the structured database. This is one of the type of language where this language will consist of queries. Right? Now, so in this we are going to do in the structured database or any database, majorly we are going to do 4 things which are called as CRUD operations. Right? CRUD, CRUD operations. So majorly we are going to do the 4 operations. The first operation is called as create. We are going to create the table. We are going to create the multiple columns. We are going to create the database. All these things we are going to create. First we have to create that one. Right? After creating that one, next we are going to C stands for create, where R stands for read or retrieve. Retrieve means extract the data from the database. U stands for update. Already whatever the database is inside that values are there, update them with the new one. New value, replace, or with respect to add a new column, a new values, a new row, anything. If you are adding a new row also, it is a update one only. The old one, if you are replacing with that one, everything is update. And delete. D stands for delete. If it is not important, we are going to delete. Right? So majorly the SQL will consist of these CRUD operations, that is create, retrieve, update and delete. We are going to see one by one each and everything. Now SQL is structured query language. It is not with respect to programming language. Now what is the difference between a programming language versus query languages? What is the difference means? Programming language separately we are having with respect to a program. Program means in terms of step-by-step procedure. Generally the programming languages, whatever the programming languages are called as programming languages versus query languages. Whatever the programming language, whether it is a Python, whether it is a C language, whether it is a Java, whatever it is programming language, generally in the programming language, we have to write the program. And here we have to write the query. This is the first one. Second one, any programming language is called as procedural language. Any programming language is called as procedural language, where you have to mention the procedure. Step-by-step procedure, what you have to do, you have to write in the program clearly. Step-by-step procedure you have to write. In the procedural language, we have to write the step-by-step procedure. We have to write the step-by-step procedure. We have to write the step-by-step procedure in the procedural language. Whereas query language, it is called as declarative language. Just declare. It is called as declarative languages. This is called as procedural language. This is called as declarative language. Sir, what is the difference? Explain. Let us assume, as of now, everyone are sitting in the classroom. Okay. This classroom is having a door at the corner. Okay. Outside the door, there is a person. Naresh IT admin. Outside the door, admin person is there. Now, if I want to call this admin. Now, what I have done? First, I call this student. There is a student sitting in the corner. One student is sitting in the corner. I call that particular student. And after calling that particular student, I ask him to go in this way. Go in this way. Open the door first. After opening the door, go outside. There is a admin. Please call him and say to him that SRK sir is calling. This is called as step-by-step procedure. And come back and sit in your chair. This is called as procedural language. Declarative language means call the admin. Is called as declarative language. In one statement, it will automatically, he will only open the door and he will only walk. You don't need to say separately that. That is the difference between the procedural language versus declarative language. Right? Just call the admin. Completed. He will walk and he will open the door. He will only bring that one. Right? So this is the procedural language versus declarative language. Here the SQL, whatever the SQL is there, SQL is a declarative language where you no need to write the step-by-step procedure. What we are going to write in the Python, the coding part, everything step-by-step. First this one, after this one, after this one, after this one. How you have written, you no need to write that one in this way. Sir, without writing that procedure, how it is going to work? It is going to work based on the compiler design subject. So computer science background students, they'll know this compiler subject. Others, don't worry. It is not important. Just here, what is important only we are going to focus. How the work is done is not going to focus. We are not going to focus on the how. How the step-by-step process was done. How we got the answer. We are not going to focus on the how. We are going to process only what we want. Exactly what we want. That only we require. The question should be very clear what you want. Right? So, in the procedure language, see, the same thing I have written here also, step by step. Please open the door, go outside. Unexpectedly, it was happened, but please open the door, go outside, take the bucket, I forgot there, bring it back to me. There is one bucket. Okay. And whereas declarative, fetch the bucket, please. Simple. No need to say that, open the door, go outside, bring the bucket and come back. No need to say anything. Just bring the bucket. Right? Simple. Right? This is called as step-by-step procedure. How you have to do also I am explaining. In what way you have to go also I am explaining. Where you have to go I am explaining. Where it is there I am explaining. Everything I am explaining. This is declarative. Example, this is classes, regular classes, where I am explaining very step-by-step. This is called as Kaggle. Crack the Kaggle rank. That's it. For 730 batch students, right? There I have not explained anything. Simply I told that crack the Kaggle rank, crack the NASCOM certification. I have not said the procedure, what you have to do, everything. Just crack, means get the best rank. Where I am declaring my statement. What I want, I am declaring. I am not saying the procedure. First you have to import this pandas. Second import numpy. After that load the data. After that first you do the data cleaning. After that this one. That too, what are the code you have to write also I am explaining means. Then what is the use of doing you? I only can do, right? That one, right? So this is with respect to the difference between the procedural language versus declarative language, where SQL is a language was designed for working with databases, where you are writing the queries and the queries will be executed. So just it is going to take the query. Query is like one line of code or two lines of code. What are the lines of code? It is going to take the code and it is going to give the output. Simply it will give the output, right? Just it is called as querying the database. Now, as I have told you, multiple databases are there in the market, out of which MySQL. Why MySQL only? Because the reason behind the MySQL is open source. It is a open source, completely free of cost, like similar kind of Python. Many of the companies, to my knowledge, whatever the companies I have worked earlier, or whatever the companies presently my students, earlier students are working, most of them are using MySQL. Second is SQL Server also. Apart from that, SQL Server is the second most priority one, right? Now, here the question. Now the question is introduction part. Just a minute. So in just the differences. Let us see the differences between the database versus spreadsheets. Next one is database versus spreadsheets. Now both of them are not same. Both of them common thing is only with respect to the table. Table is the common thing, but everything is different. So where in the both of them you can store the large amount of tabular data, and both of them you can do the calculations. Both of them are used by the many users. This is common. Data storage wise, both are same. Storing the data in a tabular format, both of them are same. Now coming to this one, here there is a predetermined data type. Okay, in the spreadsheets, whatever the Excel sheets are there, you are going to write with respect to, you are keeping the column name called as date, and but inside you are writing the string. Still it is accepting, but the same thing if you are trying in the SQL, it is going to throw the error, right? Already I have told you this point. Now second point, here whatever the calculations, whatever the retrievals, whatever the things are there, just we are going to extract the data, then we are going to perform that one. The calculations are done after extracting the data, right? Now there we are having, which is called as data integrity. This part is called as data integrity, where data integrity means with respect to preset the data type before itself. You are setting the data type, what you have to store in this particular column, you are presetting that one. And all the calculations and operations are done after the data retrieval. For example, you want to add 1 plus 2. First, you have to extract the data of the first column, and whatever the values are there in the second column, you have to extract the data. After that, you can do the addition, right? And you can do the calculations in the views also, right? Now, what is meant by use means it is one of the topic in the SQL which we are going to discuss in the further. Next, here the connections between the spreadsheets is logically limited, whereas the connections between them very easily we can connect and very easily we can extract the data. Whereas connecting them is easy, but extracting the data between them is very difficult. Whereas this one is very easy, right? Here I already told you the spreadsheets are having a limitation of 1 million rows, whereas this is having more than 1 million rows, where the data is stored with more than 1 million rows. Next one is who has changed the deleted information or changed the information in the Google spreadsheets, we can't identify. But here we can identify that one because this is having a proper structure and controlling of which user having which type of access. Who can edit, who can not edit, which columns by whom, which person can do that one. And after saving also, who has saved that one also we can identify, right? This is called as data consistency. This term is called as data consistency, where you are having a proper structure and having the control over the database is called as data consistency. Next one is no duplicate information will be there. In none of the table, duplicates will not be there. If there are duplicates means no need of creating the relational database. To save the space only, we are creating the relational database. So again, there will be no duplicates. None of them will have the duplicates. Sir, earlier, if you see this one, here there is a duplicate, right? In if you observe this one, this particular table, in this table, this sales table here 1 and here the same 1 is repeated. I'm saying the duplicate not with single value, record wise. The record, whatever the record is there, the entire record is not duplicated.